Wow, 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 wow. Can y'all hear me? How we doing? How we doing? Okay. Are the girls oiled up? The girls and the boys, are we oiled up and ready to get into some things? Because when I tell you, it was some tea. Oh, but you know what? Before we get into all of that, how was the weekend? Was y'all weekend good? Because I need to share something. I thought this was so funny. Hold on, let me go to YouTube real quick. Because I would like to share something with y'all. I forgot to crop it. I forgot to crop it, but we're gonna probably use this as our new song. Shout out to a Duchess Kelly Love in the building. Hold on, let me share my screen real quick. I thought this was so cute. Let's get into the More Oil record real quick. Well, I don't know if it's More Oil, it's just the latest heat, but shout out to this. Let's get into it.
If you want to hear it, here it go.
Wire. All my wiggins, bring the tea. I said, all my wiggins, bring the tea. I said, all my wiggins, bring the tea. We go down to the courthouse, bring the tea. He give us our daily news, bring the tea. He is never biased, bring the tea. I said, that all my wiggins, bring the tea. I said, all my wiggins, bring the tea. All my wiggins, bring the tea. All my wiggins, bring the tea. I want to thank all my bring the tea. I want to thank all my bring the tea. Oh, he's sassy and classy, bring the tea. I said, all my wiggins, bring the tea.
Oh, Ormond, it's the Ormond for me. Thank you, Duchess Kelly Love. We love you here. Thank you so much, boo. Shout out to Ormond Wiggins. Be bringing the tea. Ormond Wiggins. Okay. And speaking of the tea, how was your guys' weekend? So I want to let you guys know that I was supposed to be a deviant, okay, this past weekend in DC, okay? It was World Pride. It was all of these things happening. But at the last minute, I canceled my flight, got my flight credit back, canceled my room, and sat inside all because I wanted to have the energy for you. Because I knew if I would have went out this weekend and really did my big one, I probably would have missed today, or I wouldn't have had the energy that I had today. So give me a round of applause for that, because baby, when I tell you today was probably one of the most explosive days, and probably going to be one of the, I mean, it's not really funny, but it was just like, girl, what? Like, this testimony today almost was better than Cassie's testimony. It was like a movie. And so we're going to get into it. So today, Capricorn Klcks was on the stand. They had other people that was going to be on the stand today, right? But she took up the entire day because her testimony was so explosive. She had a better testimony than Cassie. And I'm going to just let y'all know this. Y'all know that I'm not on any side. I'm here for the fact. I'm here to let y'all know, maybe Monday Diddy's team got it. Tuesday the government got it. But I'm gonna let you know right now, this did not look good for Diddy today, baby. Diddy got destroyed today, so much so far that his team was destroyed. They were fumbling. They were like, well, we didn't expect the testimony to go like it went, Your Honor. We didn't know, like, they had to regain their bearings. It was a mess. I don't know how Diddy is going to come back from this, because one thing, and we'll get into this a little bit later, but one thing that his defense has been able to do with almost every other witness that the prosecution has placed on the stand, they've found a way to discredit or have you side-eye that witness for whatever reason. And they just weren't able to do that, at least from my viewpoint, with Capricorn Clark. We got to get into it. But speaking of discrediting and striking, so remember the lady, because this is what I'm trying to tell you guys can't be listening to everybody, and you guys can't be just, believing everybody that's just one side. I know a lot of the girls be Diddy, he's wrong. The prosecution won every day. Well, I'm gonna let you guys know this. By the end of this week or tomorrow, let me tell you something. The defense has filed a motion to strike and remove Dr. Hugh's whole testimony. If you guys don't remember who Dr. Hugh was, this was the woman who was supposed to be the forensic and clinical psychologist. But remember, they caught her up and tripped her up so much that they realized her testimony was just a generic testimony, and that she is a career witness more than she is a forensic psychologist or clinical psychologist. And so I know a lot of the girls were over here, they got it. But the judge is entertaining removing her testimony from this trial. So this is why you can't just buy into everything everybody's saying, because these girls have y'all thinking that it was a lose-lose every single day. Meanwhile, they're thinking about striking that lady's whole testimony because the defense gagged her so bad. Let's be clear on that. Okay? So there's that. Now, let's get into it. So they started off, so every day they start, with kind of the issues of the day or what they're going to be working through. So they're going to have like a forensics guy come over, for DNA and stuff. Like, apparently he's coming tomorrow, like an arsons guy. We didn't even get to that today, but they were arguing about the DNA report on the Molotov cocktail glass that was thrown into Kid Cudi's car. So the problem is, though, the defense wants to put that into really drive that home in front of the jury, but the prosecution is like, well, we can't do this because it's going to confuse the jury, because our investigator cannot speak to a partial DNA match. So partial DNA, it doesn't identify a specific person. It just identifies like, okay, there was some female DNA there, but it wasn't completely ruled out that it was a female who did it. So they're saying they don't want that to even be a part of the case because it's a partial and you can't really read a partial. And they were like, well, has it been retested? They were like, kind of no, because there wasn't enough DNA on the actual bottle to retest it. It wasn't enough DNA. So it was a partial DNA, but then it wasn't enough DNA to get the full, result of what was going on. So they're arguing and going back and forth with that. But it was a partial female profile on there, okay? But the investigator can't testify to the actual results because it's not sufficient enough concentration to test for more DNA, okay? The defense has evidence because they've had the evidence for a long time. They don't want to mislead the jury because a partial DNA is not enough substantial DNA to confirm. Okay? And they said, well, the problem is with the investigator, he can't speak on partial DNA because he doesn't know what it is. So they have to figure that out by tomorrow. Okay? Like I told you, they're setting up to strike Dr. Hughes' testimony. They were also trying to strike a portion of Kid Cudi's testimony, the part of the testimony where he asked, where they asked, did you think that Diddy was sincere when he said, like, he didn't know anything about your car? And it was like, no, I don't feel like he was telling the truth. I feel like he was lying. They're trying to strike that part of Kid Cudi's testimony, okay? Also, the prosecution they kind of got chastised a little bit because the judge was like, don't do any question framing or don't do any leading to an opinion and like for your witnesses. And if you do so, the judge has, instructed the defense to object at those things. So that was the morning of the day. So they're basically saying you can't lead your witness into answering these questions or answering it in the way that you feel like they should answer them. Okay. So that was that. Now we're about to get into the tea. Okay. So Capricorn Clark pulls in. Do I have a picture of a Capricorn? She's on the thumbnail. Let me see if I could pull up a picture of Capricorn Clark really, really, really quick. Hold on. This is Capricorn Clark. Okay. I'm going to try to pull up a picture of Capricorn for you all so y'all can really just kind of get into what she looks like. So she's an industry person, and a lot of people know her. She's worked with everybody. She used to be Diddy's personal assistant. She worked with Rihanna. She's worked with Cassie. She's a creative director. All of these things she worked for Sean John. We're going to get into it. So she worked for Diddy for a while. Okay. So today was her day to testify to what Capricorn Clark said. Okay. Some people are saying that she was Lauren London's sister. She's not Lauren London's sister. She's Lauren London's one of her good friends. They're friends, okay? So that's not her sister. But let's get into it. So I need y'all to follow me because this was like a movie. So are y'all ready? Are y'all oiled up? I got some oil, girl. We're going to get into some things. All right? It's a lot to unpack. It's a lot to unpack. All right. Let's unpack this. So Capricorn walks in and I'm like, okay, well, let me see what she's giving. So I did first looks and moves. She had her hair in a ponytail. It was black, straight to the back. She had on a white, like kind of crop kind of shirt. She had a black pinstripe pants on. And she was visibly disheveled, frantic, frail, not frail in body, but just kind of like, this was a lot. And so found out that she's from the Bay. She's from San Francisco, but she was raised in LA. Okay, so they're setting the profile for her. 1996, she got into the business with Def Jam. Her mom died and her dad died. That is important facts for you guys to remember. So mom died, dad died, all right? She starts crying really bad, talking about her parents. So she's already falling out. Talking about her mom and dad. She immediately. She ain't even on the stand for 5 minutes. She's already boo-hooing in tears. Okay? Then she talked about how she worked over at Destr0yed Records. Suge Knight is the father of her BFF's kids. Okay? In 2004, she started working for Bad Boy and Sean Combs. Okay? They asked her what kind of names that would she refer to Diddy as. She would say Puff, Puffy, Diddy, Puff Daddy, P. Diddy, Puffy. You know what I'm saying? But for the most part, she would call him Puff. From 2004 to 2012, she worked there, and I think at some point she had got fired. Okay. They asked her, what happened? She talked about how she got kidnapped. They said, we're going to get to that. We're going to get more into the kidnapping. Everybody gagged, woo. Because they said, well, what happened? She's in 2012 or 2011. She said, I was kidnapped. Ooh, everybody, ooh. And I'm saying, ooh, okay. Then shortly after she was kidnapped, she was fired. So everybody, whoo, again, whoo, right? So then so we're setting the scene. So then they go into, well, how did you meet Diddy? So she said she met Diddy in 2002 in New York. Okay, they were good friends. They met through, I can't even read my writing. They met through somebody. They met through one of their another friend, right? And she got a call from she called it a headhunter like agency group called the Jennifer Group. They called her to work for Diddy. Okay. So when she said she was going to go work for Diddy, she said that she kind of already knew that it was for Diddy. So she called Diddy and she was like, yeah, I think I got this job offer. They want me to work for you. She's like, are you hiring? And he was like, yeah. He was like, would you work for me? Because they were like homies, right? Everything was good while they were friends. And so, they talked, they had a couple meetings, they went over some stuff. And, long story short, she got the job. And so she got the job as his personal assistant. So she was a personal assistant from 2004 to 2006. Okay. So her job would be to shadow Diddy. Okay. Everything that he needs from, his scheduling to his baby oil, to his Astroglide, to his trips, just everything that he needed on his day-to-day life. She was there to make sure everything happened, just like every other assistant. You pretty much, your life is Diddy's life. Okay. And so that was what she was supposed to do. And then she left in 2006. She came back in 2007 and became the director of marketing of Sean John's Women's. Okay. She got a higher position. It was a higher ranking, increase of pay. Okay. We'll get into all of that, why she left a little bit later, but they're just setting the scene. So then she got promoted to being a global brand director for Sean Combs. Okay. So what that was, her job was to be, to watch the name and likeness, do research on the name and likeness of the brand, grow the brand. Okay. That was from 2008 to 2012. So during that time, her whole job is like, okay, you watch for the brand, you make sure everything is going great. You're the eyes and ears of this business. Your job is to get this brand to be bigger than ever, larger than life. That is what you're here to do. Okay. Whatever the brand needs, you are here to fix it or build it or create it, give great ideas. That is what you're here to do. So she's on to that till about 2012. Then she left again. She got rehired in 2016 until from 2016 to 2018. Then she became the creative director for Cassie Ventura. Okay. So they talked about, where the studios were, 1440 Broadway, Bad Boys offices in 2004. Okay. So this is when it starts to get interesting. They asked her, what was it like the first day on the job? Where did Diddy take you? What did Diddy do? She said that Diddy took her down to Central Park. I think it was like late at night. It was her and the head of security. His name is Paul Alford, aka Uncle Paulie. If you've been watching the show, you know it's Uncle Paulie, head of security, right? Then there's D-Rock, Roger Bonds, and Ruben. Okay, that's the security. Uncle Paulie, aka Paul Alford, is the head of security, so he's their boss. We're gonna get into that a little bit more. And so they take her to Central Park, and they say, Diddy says, bitch, didn't know you had anything to do with Suge Knight. Now, if I find out or something ever happens with me and Suge or anything like that that's connected to Suge Knight, bitch, I have to kill you. You heard me? I'll kill you. And she said she sat there and was like, what? And they said, well, how did he say it? He said he was just really calm when he said, bitch, I'll kill you. That was the first day on the job. He took her out to Central Park and told her, you know what? If you got anything, if anything happens over here because you connected to Suge Knight, I'll kill you. Okay? Just want to let you know that I have to kill you. Could you imagine that being your first day at work? Like, what is that like? Could you imagine that being the first? That's the first. And did she break down? I mean, through this whole time, they keep asking, do you need a break? Are you okay? is everything fine? Like they just, cause she can't go too long. I mean, it was bad. So they said, well, how did you take that? She said, I took that very serious. They said, well, what did Mr. Afford say? She said, he said nothing. That's the head of security. They said, Uncle Polly didn't say nothing. They said, so what did you say? She said, well, shit, all I could say is, we guess we're going to have to just wait and see. And I wrote down, she's frantic and a mess. Because she was just, I didn't know. I just told her we just have to wait and see. Because, I just wanted to work. Like, I just want to prove that I could do it. And then so she continued to work for Diddy because she felt like she should have been more transparent. Okay. So then they went over, well, who's all a part of the security staff? And this is what we talked about earlier. Ruben, Roger Bonds, D-Rock. I think D-Rock and Ruben are brothers. Then there's Roger Bonds, and then there's Uncle Polly. Okay. Uncle Polly's been there. D-Rock came after Capricorn. He had no job before Diddy, is what she said, and he's aka Biggie's friend. So, but he's really, really loyal to Diddy, really, really close to Diddy. I think Roger Bonds and Ruben came after. Okay. Ruben is D-Rock's little brother. He came later. Roger Bonds started when Capricorn started. So they asked about like, how is security and like, what is the Bible security? They're setting the stage. Follow me. You see what I'm saying? So they started off about her life, where she came from, who she was connected to. Remember who her family unit was. Did she have her mother, her father? She was an employee. He started out with telling you, but I'll kill you. Okay. None of the security is doing anything. So you gotta follow the play here, because once it starts getting to the meat and potatoes, everything starts to click. So don't miss nothing that I'm saying. Okay. So she said Diddy would keep security around all the time. So they said, well, how did that make you feel when the security would be around all the time? She was like, it felt very serious in nature. It felt very serious all the time because it was always security and it was always around. Then they said, well, did Diddy ever, the prosecution, because they trying to get the gun charges, they trying to get all this stuff. So they lead you right into it. Well, did Diddy ever talk about guns? And she said, yes. They said, well, tell us a little bit more about that. And she said, well, there was this one time where we were at MTV and we had to do press with 50 Cent. And I was with Chris Lighty, and it was me, Diddy, and Chris Lighty in the elevator. And she said, she got into the elevator, and Diddy told Chris Lighty that I don't like to do the back and forth. I like guns. Now, apparently he had an issue with 50 Cent. And so he was telling Chris Lighty, and I think Chris Lighty at that time was manager 50 Cent. So he told him, I'm not doing this back and forth. If I like guns, I'll shoot that mother in the elevator. Okay. So that was the first time she had heard Diddy mention a gun. And this is at the MTV headquarters. And so they said, well, what else? Tell us a little bit more, was there, did you ever have to like carry any jewelry for Diddy, or what, what was that about? Tell us. She said, well, there was this one time that I got accused of stealing jewelry that was loaned out for loan from Jacob the jeweler. So I didn't know niggas be loaning. So, Jacob the jeweler loaned Diddy some jewelry. The jewelry came up missing from within inside of the Bad Boy Studios headquarters, whatever, right? They were supposed to be going to Miami. She was holding the jewelry in her bag because she did all the packing. They were going on a trip to Miami, but she looked and the jewelry was gone. $1 million worth of jewelry. It's gone. She calls Diddy and says, hey, the jewelry is gone. Diddy then says, you know what? No worries. You just stay back. I'm going to go ahead, head to Miami, and you guys going to go ahead and figure this out. So she didn't get to board the plane to Miami because she needed to figure out what was going on with the jewelry. Okay? So, but she said once she realized the jewelry was stolen, she told security, lock the car, lock everything up, and search everybody. Everybody apparently got searched. They found nothing. Diddy told her, I'm going to Miami. You go back with Uncle Polly, which is the head of security. So they questioned her for about 3 hours, trying to figure out, girl, where's the jewelry? Where did you put it? They're just trying to locate the jewelry. Okay? She went to her house after that, and they searched her house for hours. They went through all her panty drawers, her personal drawers. I mean, she never had felt so violated before in her life. They went through everything. They were searching everything, every corner, every crevice of her house. Okay? And then they said, well, what did Mr. Alfred tell you after that? Because they didn't find it. So she said, well, he told me that everything's okay. We're just going to have to figure it out. So the next day, he picked her up. And they took her to 1710 Broadway. Now, she didn't know this at the time, but this would be the new Bad Boys headquarters, right? So she went to the front of the door. They showed a picture on the screen. They said, do you recognize this screen? Or do you recognize it? She said, yes. So you recognize these doors right here? She said, yes. The front door? She said, yes. They said, how did you get into the building? But you got to watch the prosecution. They're leading you to it. It's like, obviously, I know how I got into the building, but they asked her step by step so she can lay out the foundation. They said, well, how did you get into the building? She said, well, we walked through the front door. And they said, well, what happened after that? The door was locked. And I was thinking, okay, well, of course, the door is locked, whatever. But the door was locked from the outside. So they locked her in there from the outside, okay? So now the building was something out of one of those gangster movies, right? Because it's a new building, so it's gutted. They don't have any of the new Bad Boy stuff in there. It's no logos. It's no nothing. It looks like a Kanye West dungeon brunch. You know what I mean? It's just blank. Nothing on the walls. The floor is gutted. It's like an abandoned building. It's abandoned. It's like it needs to be renovated. So if you ever seen something that needs to be renovated, it needs to be, it's nothing in there. It's at bare minimum. It's at the base. You've seen that where they go and they tie the man up and they about to pay. It's one of those scenes. Think of the scariest movie or the most gangster movie where they go into some, cave or some garage or, whatever abandoned building. And, they do the scene where it's like somebody finna get their head chopped off. That's what it was given in there. Then she said she didn't know where she was going or what was happening because she had never been there before. She went up to the 6th floor and it was gutted. There was nothing there but a black long table, okay? And she said it was a fat motherfucker sitting there. She described him as a wide, heavy, very large, 2-time linebacker, big black motherfucker, okay? That was chain smoking cigarette and drinking black coffee. She said that they said, well, how big was he? She was like, it was about 2 linebackers, very wide, very big, huge, big fat motherfucker, right? They said, well, how, really, in comparisons to you, how big was he? And she said, about 5 of me. And I'm like, girl, so a man like five people, okay? Big, fat, big black motherfucker sitting there. And they said, well, what did he do? And they said, you're there to do a lie detector test. And the man said, Mitch, now if you fail this test, bitch, they're going to throw your motherfucking ass in the East River. And she was thinking, what? Mind you, Uncle Polly gone. Now she in the thing. It's there at the table in the abandoned building, and some man she never met before told her, you finna take a lie detector test for this jewelry, because if you fail this mother, you're going in the river tonight. This is in the morning. This is all in the morning. This is how you start your day. They said that, then she said that the security left and she was locked in there. She said she didn't even try to leave because she wanted to prove that she had nothing to hide. I said the space felt something like a gangster mafia movie. And so they said, well, what was the demeanor of the large man? She said the demeanor was very serious. It was no thrills. She was petrified. And I wrote, she was it was a mess. She said that motherfucker said, bitch, if you don't pass this test, you're gonna throw your motherfucking ass in the East River, bitch. And she just and I'm like, oh my God. And I wrote, she just can't stop crying. She said she was petrified. She was so scared. She was scared that, if she didn't pass the test, she was going to, die, right? So they asked if she steal the jewelry. She said no. They said they asked her a lot of questions about stealing. What'd you steal? Where's the lab? Did you try to set it up? Did you tell anybody about the jewelry? Did you try to hint somebody? Did you tip somebody off? They were asking her a plethora of questions related to jewelry and jewelry being stolen or being set up to be stolen or just how it went missing. So she went there for hours. The results came back inconclusive. So she's shitting bricks. And she said, well, what does that mean? Inconclusive. The man said, well, listen, Mitch, you're too nervous. You need to relax. Because if I can't get a clear result, then Mitch, you going in the East River. And she's saying, well, I can't give you a positive result. I can't relax, motherfucker. I'm sitting in here with you, and they think I stole this jewelry. How am I supposed to relax? How am I supposed to relax? And so she's trying to relax, but she can't relax because her life is on the line. They told her to be calm, and she told my mother, I can't be calm. And I'm thinking, I couldn't be calm either. They said, well, how long were you there? She said she was there for a full work day, a full 8 hours, just going through, trying to relax and calm down, walking in a circle, sitting there, taking a test. Could you imagine that? I mean, let's pause for a second. Could you imagine this is like a couple of weeks or after work, and you're sitting there, and you get brought into an abandoned building with a man you don't know, and they tell you if you do not pass this test, you're going to die. And no one's going to know. This is crazy. Mind you, we in 2004, 5, 6. Like, what? Like, think about where you were at that time in your life and where she was at. Like, ain't that crazy? And so I wrote, Capricorn has been the strongest witness thus far. Because, baby, she was getting into the details. Okay? And so they said she was there she said she was there testing all day. They said she couldn't leave because Uncle Paulie said, you're not leaving. There's no leaving. The building was locked from the outside. She said she didn't try to leave the building because she wanted to prove her innocence. Okay? They couldn't get the results back because she was so spooked and nervous. So they had to come back. They said, you know what, we're going to figure this out again. He dropped her off at her house and told her, you know what, I'll be back to pick you up in the morning. We got to figure this out. He came back and took her back to the same spot. And she did the test again. Okay? They said, now how long did the testing last? She said, I tested for 5 days straight for 8 to 10 hours a day. She said she kept going to prove her innocence and that she didn't lie and she didn't like the threats. She said she didn't tell nobody, not her family, nothing. She didn't even tell the police because she wanted to prove, listen, I didn't do it. So I'm going to take this test because I didn't do it. So that's fine. But she was shooting bricks every time. And so Diddy never reached out to her. Diddy's in Miami. In Miami. While she's doing these tests. They said, well, what happens? What would you have been doing right now had you not been taking tests? She said, I would be right side by side with Diddy. I would be working. After the 5 days, she got the okay to go back to work. She said she met up with Diddy, and Diddy never mentioned anything about the test. What I thought was very interesting, nobody ever mentioned everything. She said, to this day, today, May, 27th, 2025, she doesn't even know if the jewelry ever got returned or what happened to it, and Diddy never mentioned it to her or talked to her about the jewelry. So it was like, they handled that. They said, you're clear to go. You're back with me, and it's done. So what that told me was like, did they catch somebody? Did they kill somebody? And it was just back to work as usual. And Diddy, you know how when you go and you're at work with your manager or your boss, but then you get in trouble with the other person, but then you get back on the sales floor, whatever, then your boss act like, hey, what's going on? How was your lunch? But really, they sent the assistant manager to do the dirty work, but the boss that's smiling in your face actually set the hit upon you to go get the write-up. But then after you finish getting written up and thinking your job is gone, you get back on the floor and you get okay. Then your boss is like, hey, so what's up going? What are you doing for the weekend? It was very like that. Like Diddy was just like, hey, welcome back. What's going on? Haven't seen you. We love you. It was like, you was about to kill me. And so we never knew what happened with the jewelry. Nobody knows where the jewelry is at. To this day, the jewelry has still not been found. So she kept working. Because they said, why did you keep working there? Like, you continue to work for Diddy after this? She said, well, yes. They said, well, why? She said, because I didn't want to look like I stole anything. So I kept working. They asked her this. Now they're trying to get into, the overloaded work hours and how long, you have to work and stuff. So they asked her, they said, well, what were your hours? She said her hours would range from 9 a.m. to 4 a.m. every day. 9 a.m. to 4 a.m. is crazy. She said on a good night, she might get 4 hours of sleep. On a bad night, she might get 2 hours of sleep. They said, have you ever got any health concerns or any health issues from Diddy? Working with Diddy, she... And they said, well, what happened? I got alopecia. So she developed alopecia from working for Diddy. They said, well, what is alopecia? They said, well, alopecia was when you're so stressed out, the hair starts to fall out. So she said she would be so stressed out and around the clock working for Diddy that she developed alopecia. And they said, well, how much money did you make a year for this? She said, well, I made about $65,000 a year. I'm thinking, ooh, that ain't no money. Then they said, she said she worked overtime. She said one time she had a meeting about her overtime with one of the heads of HR there. The lady did the math for her to see how much money she was owed for the overtime that she had been putting in, because she's working 9 a.m. to 4 a.m. around the clock with 4 hours of sleep, 2 hours of sleep sometime, and developing alopecia. So then she said she went to talk to HR. HR crunched the numbers and told her she was owed $80,000 per every 3 months while she was an assistant. So $80,000 per 3 months. So every 3 months for the year, for the 2 years or whatever years she was an assistant, she was owed an extra $80,000. I didn't know the math on that, but it was a lot of money. She then gave the paper to Diddy. So they gave the paperwork to Diddy. He looked at the paperwork and looked at the numbers and the information of what he owed her and said, bitch, please, and ripped up the paper and told her to get back to work. This is crazy. Yeah. Diddy said, shit, nigga, yeah, and ripped it up and told her to get back to work. Now, child, we got a flight to catch. Now, they said, what would Diddy, how often would Diddy stay in hotels and what would Diddy do? This was very interesting to me because she didn't mention Cassie first. She said, well, Diddy would stay in a hotel at least once a week with Kim Porter. This is the first time that Kim Porter was introduced into a hotel setting like that. I thought that was very, very interesting. So we're bringing something. Maybe I'm just thinking conspiracy wise, but I'm like, ooh, are we trying to really bring in a Kim Porter situation here? Because, okay, let's pause for a second. A lot of people, everybody I talked to about this case, they're wanting to bring in other celebrities. They're wanting to bring in Tupac and Biggie. They wanted to bring in the death of Kim Porter. I don't think that this case is about that. So they're not bringing all those different elements in there. So we'll never find out, at least particularly in this trial, if Diddy had anything to do with Biggie. And I don't think that we're going to ever find out if they're going to launch an investigation on Kim Porter and with Diddy. But I'm interested. But I was trying to see, are they trying to introduce a Kim Porter into this in a different kind of way? I don't know. But that was the first time that we were told that Kim Porter was doing the weekly stays in the hotels. They said, well, what would you do? You know, I would pack his stuff for him. I would make sure everything was set up. Like every other assistant, she would go and pretty much stage the room. Okay? She would put, she would pack the drugs, the clothing, and the baby oil. Everything. They asked what different place she would stay, and they said, well, what would the names be booked under sometimes? And this is going back into confirming everything else that everybody else said. And if you guys have been following along, you guys know the names go as of Frank White, Frank Black, and sometimes it will go under Cassie's name as just Jackie Star. So that is what, like, everything is adding up from every assistant, including Cassie. So all the timelines, all the names, Frank Black, Frank White, Jackie Star, Veronica Bang, This was a real thing. And so are you following me? Is everybody here and oiled up? Because we haven't even cut the surface. Because this is a lot going on. And so they said, well, what would you bring? This is the first time I've heard this though. They said she would have a little camera. He would have a camera box, a silver 3-point and shoot camera in the box. And just as a trinket of, it being Diddy, it would have a little small bottle of baby oil and lube, almost like a traveling size of baby oil. Like everywhere he goes, he drops a little baby oil. I don't know what this thing is with baby oil. So he had like a miniature bottle of baby oil in the camera bag, and a little bottle of lube, like a fun size baby oil. I don't know what he's doing with it. It's always more oil. So at every crevice of Diddy, you just need a little bit more oil at all times. No matter where you are, it's more oil. Okay? Just the slightest touch of baby oil. And she'd have to put it, and that was always on his person. Okay? And so when we hear that there was 1,000 bottles of baby oil, I'm starting to feel like it was more like 2,000. Okay? And so the baby oil and the Destr0yed are inside the camera bag. And so then there was a toilet bag. It was a black Louis Vuitton bag. That bag is famous. And they said, well, what was in that? She said, drugs. They said, well, what kind of drugs? She said, pills, ecstasy. They said, would he bring this often? 100% of the time. This has to be, the drug bag is there 100% of the time. And they said, well, how long would he stay at these hotels? She said 3 to 4 days. And they said, well, what would you do when Diddy is at the freak off? She said, well, I would be in my room catching up on sleep and ordering room service. So she was over there spending the money, hoping he didn't call her. You remember Capricorn is black, okay? So she gonna pack it up, give you the baby oil, douse it, whatever you need. You need this, whatever you need, just go ahead. I need to go to sleep. I got a kid. I got a lot going on. I'm finna lay down. And I'm finna go ahead and rack up all this room service while you getting freaked off with Cassie and whatever and the Punisher. Then she said she would have to clean the rooms. And when she would clean the rooms, it would just be handprints all over everything, all over the walls of baby oil, all over the house. It would just be handprints all over the walls of baby oil. And she'd have to go through and wipe the walls down because it'd just be baby oil all, like they was just all over the wall. All over the hotel. I'm like, and she said it was just handprints of baby oil, handprints all over the walls. She said oil was just everywhere. The whole hotel would be splattered in oil. And so she would have to clean it up because it'd be candle wax and baby oil and it'd be all in the walls. But you need to get the money back. It'd be a whole thing. They said, well, who would kind of be at the hotels and how would that work? She said, Kim Porter and Cassie would be the ones at the hotel. I said, well, and I wrote the Kim Porter stuff is getting interesting because no one is talking about it. She said that Cassie and Diddy will be in the hotel once a week, about 3 or 4 days. So it was like they lived in a hotel. And they would get ecstasy. They'd be high off of ecstasy. But Cassie told us that. And so, hold on. So then they talked about a time that Diddy she talked about a time where she was in the kitchen and it was her, Chef Jordan, and Lauren London. And Diddy came in and said, let me tell y'all why you don't have no man. Just came and told her, I'm gonna tell you why you ain't got no man. He said, Cassie. He called Cassie. She walk in. Call Cassie, hey baby. Shut up. He told her. Cassie walked in. He told her, shut up. He said, sit down. She sat down. He said, stand up. She stood up. He said, look the other way. She looked the other way. He said, look the other way. She looked the other way. He said, go get that. She went and got that. He said, now bring it back to me. Brought it back to her. He said, sit down. She sat down. He said, stand up. She stood up. He said, now get the out of my face and walk away. Then she just walked away. And he said, you see that? That's why you bitches ain't got no motherfucking man. You bitch won't do that. And then Capricorn said, she said, you motherfucking right, I won't. Okay? And Cassie just walked off. This is crazy. This is crazy. This is crazy. This is crazy. And so they said the drugs were getting bad. The drugs were getting so bad, really bad, really bad, really bad, really bad. They said, well, where did he get the drugs from? Now, this is some new information. They said one supplier, he had a girlfriend in New York that would get him the drugs here, but we didn't really talk about her that much, so you could tell the prosecution was like, no, we need to keep bringing One Stop up. They said, well, where would he get his drugs from in L.A.? And she said, well, he would get them from One Stop. We all know One Stop at this point. The drugs would either get delivered to her house, his house, or wherever they were at the time. One Stop would deliver all the drugs. And sometimes it'd be in her name, his name. Oftentimes it would be in her name because sometimes when they're prescription control substance prescriptions, Diddy would have used his name up so much that he's gotten too many refills, so she would have to go and put it in her name, or vice versa. They said, who did Diddy provide drugs for other than that? He provided drugs for his girlfriends, his friends. Then, in 2006, he asked Capricorn to go and get some cocaine. And she said, for who? She said because that was a trigger for her. She didn't want to do that because I guess that's how her mom died. And I don't know if she wanted to start using or whatever, because he was like, go get some cocaine. And she was like, for who? Because I'm not about to do that. And then he told her, not me, nigga. And she said that she had jumped. And so she had went and got the Spanish security guards to go get the cocaine. I don't know. I think they were in Spain or Madrid, somewhere, Spanish. And so he wanted to get the cocaine, and she said, "For who?" He said, "Not me, nigga." And so she had to go get the Spanish guys to go do it. And I said sometimes she'd have to put the prescription drugs in her name because Diddy had gotten too much under his. Diddy kept drugs in a Louis Vuitton bag. Diddy would carry the bag, and sometimes sometimes she would carry the bag. They asked, "Would you see Diddy with bulk cash?" She said, "Yeah, sometimes he have 100,000 euro. I didn't do the math on that. I don't know what 100,000 euro is. Y'all put it in the chat." They said she would count the money. She said she would count the cash. Then she'd give it to Diddy, and then Diddy would give it to the security. Money is usually kept in the bedroom in his personal safe. They said, "Have you ever seen Diddy fight anybody, be violent with anyone?" She said, "Yes. Yes." She said, "Who?" Diddy fought his head of security, Uncle Paulie. Diddy fought his barber, Curtis Smith. So Diddy just wasn't whacking up to women. Diddy was punching in niggas too. They said Diddy would just often just lash out and just throw a phone at you. He just chuck a phone at your head. "Shut up. Bow." Hit you with a phone. "Nigga, what?" Bow. Phone. He just throw phones. At any given moment, just wake up and chuck a phone at you. "But shut up. Bow." I'm like, whoa. And so it's summer of 2016. And I'm just like, where was I? I was here in California. I was getting my life together. I was like, that wasn't that long ago. So Diddy, they were in Miami. And so they were at his Miami mansion. Okay. Now it was 2-star island, or basically it's a little island. So it's a two-way road into the like, it's like one of those places where super rich people live. So you got to drive up, but they have their own road on some Tyler Perry. Like they got their own road that goes to their neighborhood. So everybody on that road knows whose car is what, because you got to, even to get in, you got to get through the gate and get to the road. Like it's its own road. But in the back, it's nothing but water. And it's on an island in Miami. But I guess Pharrell and his producer, or Pharrell's producer, something along the lines of that, they were coming to Diddy's mansion, and they wanted her to go with them take the boat to another island, which was just not that far away, to shoot a music video. But can I just say this? Through all of this going on, I know it's the drama stuff. This is some rich. This is some luxury. You know what I mean? And listen, and I know this is not going to probably land well, but this is some luxury abuse. You know what I'm saying? I'm just saying, because it's like, imagine people just getting, in the hood, you getting on, be like on some precious type shit. But I mean, you're getting freaking cursed out in $20,000 mansions and getting, decorative apples thrown at you. I mean, this is like people crashing out in these like, this is some rich shit right here. But anyway, so I just keep thinking, this is some rich ass shit. This is some rich shit, for real. So so she went to do the video shoot. She was on the island for an hour. She said, "I was here for an hour. And she said, Diddy called and said, "Where the fuck are you?" She said, "I'm on the island." She said, "Didn't I tell you can't leave? I told you to bring your ass back over here." He said, "You know what? when she got home, he said, you know what the problem with you is? The problem with you is that you want a fucking life. Ain't no life here. That's your problem. This is your life. That's your problem. You want a life. This is the life. This is the life. Could you imagine somebody telling you, do you know what your problem is? Because you went away for a music video shoot on an island for an hour? Because she said she was having fun on the island. She was kikiing, she was with Pharrell and them, and they was having a good time. But she didn't want to sit at the house. She wanted to go and, watch the video shoot. And Diddy told her, what's wrong with you? You know what your problem is? Bring your ass back over here. You want a life. This is your life. Don't ever tell me that my problem is I want a life. Like, what? Like, where do they do that at? You want a life? And so, oh, girl. So then the next morning, she's pissed. She's devastated. She was told there's no life. This is the life. And so she said the next morning she went into the kitchen. And she said, I went into the kitchen. And all I wanted was I can't even do this right now, y'all. I can't even do this. Because this is not funny. This is not funny. Hold on. Yo, this is not funny. I can't even get this out. Hold on. Yo, hold on. Give me a second. Okay, I gotta get serious. Y'all know I never really break, but girl, I cannot, because I was like, yo, what? This is not real. Hold on. So she said, okay, so she said, I went into the kitchen and Chef Jordan was in there, and all I wanted was some turkey bacon. And she said, can I get some turkey bacon? And Chef Jordan said, bitch, ain't no fucking turkey bacon. And she said, yeah, I hate it here. She said, but the chef was so irritated because Diddy had pissed the chef off the night before. So so the lady wanted some turkey bacon, and the chef told her, ain't no turkey bacon. No fucking turkey bacon. And then the lady said, I hate it here. She walked out. Capricorn walked out. Then the chef went and told Diddy that Capricorn said that she hated it there. Then Diddy came out and said, bitch, you hate it here? You hate it here? And start doing it. You hate it here? You hate it here? And start pushing her out the house. You hate it here, bitch? You hate it here? And she doing this. All the way out the door. He pushed her all the way out the door. She said Diddy ran up to her and told her, bitch, you hate it here? And started pushing her back. And she doing this. All over some turkey bacon. This is not like, I swear to God, I'm not exaggerating. All over. She said, Diddy said, bitch, what? You hate it here? And ran and charged her and pushed her. You hate it here, bitch? 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 And she doing this. And he pushed her down the long hallway. This is a mansion, so this ain't just like from here to there. So this is a 20,000-foot house. So the kitchen is probably far from the door. So she said that Diddy is pushing her, keep telling her, you hate it here, huh? You hate it here, hate it here, at 75% strength until she pushed her out the house and said, as a matter of fact, now get the fuck out. Then after that, she said she quit. I'm like, yo, this is fucking nuts. And that was all over turkey bacon. Yo, I can't do this. I'm sitting here like, what are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? And so, she said Diddy charged her and said, "Bitch, you hate it here," and was charging her and pushing her outside the house. After that, she quit. But she came back. Yes, she came back. Shout out to the 20,000 people in the chat. Please, really quick. Oh, shoot. If you guys haven't done so, just a quick reminder, please subscribe to the channel. And we got more oil merch coming soon, so be on the lookout for that. Also, give to our More Oil Fund at Venmo. Just a quick little shout out really quick. You know, self-plug, no shade. Hold on. Ciao. If you haven't done so, subscribe to the channel, please. So we got more to go. And so after that, she apparently quit. Then she came back as the brand director of Sean John Women. She would make more money and she wouldn't have to work with Diddy up close, because he asked her, did she want to come back? And she wanted to. So what I'm gathering from Capricorn is she really liked her job. Like, you got to really think about this, guys. She was doing vacations and stuff with Rihanna in the south of France, and you have all that access. And Diddy was a powerful guy at that time. Like, it was Sean John. It was nobody. You got to think, nobody knew about this stuff. So he's a powerful guy. You got clout, you got money, you have access. Like, where do you go? And then he can blacklist you. So it's like, there's a certain lifestyle that you have and maintain for yourself. And it's like, you end up wanting to come back. Many of us have had jobs before, and we may not have liked our boss or liked our positions or whatever. And it might have sucked. But the lifestyle you had, you like, man, actually, I'll go back and deal with this shit. Because it's the lifestyle. And you just ain't found that lifestyle with anywhere else. So she came back. She came back. And as the brand director for Sean John Women, she would make more money. And she said she wouldn't have to deal directly with Diddy. Then she started working for Cassie in her image. In 2011, and then they talked about, you know, where they lived and all that stuff. Okay, so boom. Oh, they talked about her apartment where she lived, because then they ended up moving. Everybody ended up moving from New York to LA, because I think Kim Porter moved out to LA. I don't know. It was something like that, but they ended up moving to New York, from New York to LA. So they asked, now they're introducing Cassie a little bit more. They asked, well, where would Cassie stay? Cassie stayed in New York still, but Cassie would stay in hotels, or she'd stay at Capricorn's house a lot of the time while she was with in New York. So her and Cassie became and built a little friendship. And so now Kid Cudi enters the chat. Cassie brought Kid Cudi to Capricorn's house one time. They were supposed to be going to Runyon Canyon another time, right? And Cassie said, hey, we're going to Runyon Canyon. Let's go hiking. I wish I would have been there in 2011. I was here in LA in 2011, but I never went to Runyon Canyon. So anyway, she was like, okay, well, you know, we're going to Runyon Canyon. This is Capricorn. Cassie's like, well, you know, I want to bring Cudi. And Capricorn said, are you crazy? She said, that's not a good idea. Text. This is the text. It's too many people at Runyon Canyon. And delete this text message. They said, well, why did you instruct Cassie to delete the text message about wanting to bring Kid Cudi to Runyon Canyon? And she said, because it got really tricky. You're texting me on a phone that Diddy pays for from a phone that Diddy pays for. Don't do that. This nigga paying for my phone and your phone. And you texting me about Kid Cudi. coming to Runyon Canyon. No, delete that. So she said she took Cassie to Best Buy to buy a burner phone. And they said, well, why did you take her to Best Buy to buy a burner phone? And this is some black people right here. She said, because the way that it was moving, she was going to get us all killed. Everybody was like, shit, I'm with you when you're right, sis. I'm with you when you're right. She said, the way she was moving, she was going to get us all killed. Okay? So then Diddy, I don't know if it's like 5 in the morning, 6 in the morning, Diddy comes to Capricorn's house, knocking on the door. Furious, angry, pissed, going the hell off. Rips in his pants, no glasses on, outside. Pacing around. She peeking through the peephole. She scared as hell. She doing this. Diddy sitting around. Pissed. And she doing this. What's going on? Diddy? Puff? Puff? He said, open the door. She said it sounded like metal on metal. They said, well, what does that mean? She said, they said, what kind of door did you have? She said, well, I had a metal door. And it looked like that he had something like a gun in his hand. She was like, a gun? They were like, a gun? It was like, but she was like, I can't tell, but it was like, it looked like he had a gun. And they said, well, did you open the door? She said, yes. They said, well, why did you open the door? She was like, well, because I'm the director of the brand. I have to protect the name, the likeness, and he's outside crashing out. And so we got to figure out what's going on here. It's a part of my job. Can I just tell you, I don't know, do celebrities still do that these days? Because why can't I ever be in a place at the time where a Diddy is crashing out with a gun at the front of somebody's yard? Like, what apartment complex do I need to live in? You know what I'm saying? Like, how can I see a Diddy just jump out of a car and start knocking on a bitch door in broad daylight, crashing out? Where do I need to go? Anyway, she said it was a part of the job. So that's why she did it. She said he on gray slacks, had a gun in his hand. His pants was ripped from the knee up, and you could see his drawers. He came in and, why didn't you tell me about Scott? She said, I don't know who Scott is. He said, Kid Cudi. She said, oh, Cassie's friend. He told her, bitch, get dressed. We about to go kill this nigga. And she said, no, I don't want to go. He said, bitch, I don't give a fuck. Go get dressed, ho. She said, so she said she ran and got dressed. She was scared as shit. So she had to get dressed. And I wrote, she looks traumatized on the stand. She said the car was down there. I think it was D-Rock that was driving the car. And she said she got dressed and it was a black Suburban. And the way that she described it even was like luxury. I'm saying I never described a black car like that before. They said, well, how were the seats in the black car? She said, well, there was the 2 passenger seats, but then she said, you know, in the back seat of the Suburban, they had the pilot seating. And, you know, the pilot seats are the separate seats so that you don't have to like flip the row over to get into the back, or you don't have to climb over the back. And I never thought about, you know, when you get into the black car, they have just the 2 seats and it kind of has the separate seats. Those are now, at my vocab, those are called pilot seat. You know, I'm broke, so I don't know. That's some rich also there. It's the pilot seating. Okay. Okay. So they had the pilot seating, okay? And so she's in there with the pilot seating, and Diddy's on one end and she's on the other end. And he's got the gun on his, and they drive in the Kid Cudi house. No, Ruben, Diddy, and Capricorn in the car in a black Escalade. Diddy's in the back seat with the gun on the lap. So Ruben was driving the car. Then they went to Kid Cudi's house, 8929 Hollywood Hills Road. So they in the hills, and you know them Hills Road is like, if you've been to Hollywood Hills, it's not a lot of room to be wiggling and maneuvering, okay? It was about a 15 minute to 20-minute drive. They asked her, how long does it take to get to Kid Cudi house? She said, if you're really hitting it, you can get there between 15 and 20 minutes. And she was looking sent and distressed. That's what I wrote. I said, she's sent because she telling the story. Then she said, Ruben and Diddy entered the house. Okay. She said she stayed in the car. She was able to see Diddy and Ruben trying to break into the house, and eventually they gained access to one entry, and then they gained access to the other entry into the main property. She said she then called Cassie on the burner phone and said, Cassie, what the fuck? Diddy just picked me up with a gun and told me and took me to Kid Cudi's house to kill him. Then Kid Cudi, and she said she just heard a voice in the background that said, he's in my house. I'm on my way. She said, Cassie, stop him. Don't let him come over here. Cassie said, I can't. Now, mind you, Kid Cudi made it seem like she called him. Kid Cudi's story, Kid Cudi lied about a lot of things because Capricorn didn't call Kid Cudi. Capricorn called Cassie. Kid Cudi was laying in the back. Kid Cudi was laying in the back with Cassie. Okay? Be clear on that. He heard it. Capricorn didn't call him. So then she says, Diddy came outside and said, who you talking to? Who you on the phone with? And they called the number back and it was Cassie. Hello? No, he told her, what is this number? And it was Cassie's burner number when he called the number back. He said, what is this number? And he said, Kid Cudi pulled up. Zoom, all she heard was a boom, boom, boom coming up the street. Zoom, 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 zoom. Kid Cudi in the black Porsche. Then she said Kid Cudi just stopped the car and looked. And Diddy said, that's that nigga right there. And they ran and jumped in the car, and Kid Cudi zoomed off and ran up the road. That was the part. Kid Cudi did not say that he ran from his house like that. So everybody in the courtroom thinking, what? This nigga ran from his house? She said Kid Cudi came to a full, complete stop, looked over in his house. Diddy said, that's that nigga right there. And they started going up and jumped in the car, and Kid Cudi zoomed up the hill. She said that her and Diddy and Rube got in the car in the Escalade and chased Kid Cudi up to Hollywood Hills for about a minute. First of all, I don't know if y'all are ever been to the Hollywood Hills. Trying to do a high-speed chase in the Hollywood Hills is crazy. First of all, you could fall off anywhere. It's no room to park. It's not a lot of wiggle room for passing cars. I don't know how you do something like that. Gosh, I wish I was just a neighbor or just coming down the road or just a fly on the wall. Like, how do you? This is some rich shit. Like, y'all are doing all this with all this money in the Hollywood Hills? God, I got to get my money up and just move over there and just wait. I just want to see what the drama is like in a different airspace. Because I know what it's like in the hood and the downtown and stuff. It's not, I want to see some luxury gangster shit. You know what I mean? Some luxury drama. Some luxury ghetto ratchet shit. Like, I want to go to Beverly Hills and see some crime. I don't want to see no more local, broke people crime. I'm tired of that. Take me to the hills and let me. I want somebody banging on the door in the hills, cursing them out, going off, crashing out. What does that look like? Crashing out in the Porsche and shit. Yes, throwing bottles of Mazel Tov cocktail in the broad daylight of setting cars on fire in the Hollywood Hills. That's what I want to walk out and see. What? Who is that? What is that? What? But no, so anyway. So then she said the police started coming. So I guess Kid Cudi went in and alerted the police. She said Diddy started to calm down because the police started driving by and stuff. And so it brought him back to reality. Like, you'll go to jail, you high, you got all this going on. And so he calmed down. Then they went to One Oak Club. Then he told her to call Cassie and said, tell her that you have to come get her. Tell Cassie that I have you held hostage and you can't go until you go get her and bring her here. So she had to call Cassie and say, hey, he's got me and he won't let me leave until I come pick you up and bring him to you or bring you to him. And she said, come get me. Come get me. So she went back to Diddy's house. And she said, and then he said, once you go get Cassie, because she had to go get the car from Diddy's house. It was like an employee car. It's like a, it was like one of the, she said, she described this car as like a no brand car, like an off brand car. She's like one of those cars that she said that Diddy would probably drive, when he wants to go get burgers, by himself. It's like unmarked. It's not super fancy. You probably could miss it. So it's just like the employee's car, company car. So she said, Diddy told her, now once you go get her, you listen to me. Once you go get her, you've got to convince, you and Cassie have to convince Kid Cudi not to tell the police it was me. If you don't, if you are unable to convince him not to tell the police that it was me in his house, I will kill all of you motherfuckers. Again, he said, bitch, and when you go get Cassie, I want you and her to convince Kid Cudi to tell the police it wasn't me. Now, if you can't do that, I'm going to kill all you motherfuckers. You understand? So she, they're like, are you okay, ma'am? Are you okay? Do you need a break? I got it. I got you. So she got the company car. Y'all, I swear, this next part is ridiculous, bro. She got in the company car. She picked up Cassie and told Kid Cudi, what's up? If you tell the police, he's gonna hurt us all. Cassie said, do you really think he will? This is why Kid Cudi never really made a police report, I don't think. So boom. They get to Diddy's house. I'm about to tell you, this is where it gets crazy. They get to Diddy's house. I promise to God. This is what she said. They at Diddy's house. Hold on. They at Diddy's house. She said that Diddy was waiting at the door in a bathrobe in his underwear. And Cassie walked in. And so when Cassie walked in the door, Cassie didn't say nothing. Diddy just walked in. I'm about to tell y'all. Diddy walked in a bathrobe and his underwear and threw open the jacket and started kicking Cassie's ass. Just started karate kicking Cassie. Bop, 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 bop. Roundhouse kicked her like that. Mind you, this is all in a robe and underwear. Then they said that he kicked Cassie so bad that he kicked her out. He kicked her out the house. Wow. So mind you, the whole time that he kicking Cassie doing this. All the way outside the house. Kicked her so far down the house, he kicked her into the street from inside the house. She said he never used his hands. All he did was Chung Lee kick Cassie from inside the house to the middle of the street. Bow, 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 bow. And they said, I'm like, this nigga really, he said she didn't say nothing. She just started kicking Cassie as soon as she walked in the door. Oh, my God. Oh, my God. He said he didn't say not one word. He just started Chung Lee kicking Cassie. I'm like, are you serious? And poor Cassie was doing this until she eventually hit the ground in fetal position. And then once she hit the ground, then he kept kicking her again. I'm like, yo, hold on. This is crazy. This is crazy. This is crazy. This is crazy. That's crazy. That's crazy. We roundhouse kicking that lady like that. So he was kicking Cassie. Soon as she walked in the door, she said he just started bow, 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 bow. And Cassie just kicked her into the street. But he kicked her from inside the house and kept kicking her. And they said, well, who was there? They said, what did Cassie say? She said, Cassie said nothing. He was just kicking her. They said, where was he kicking her? Kicking her in the ass, kicking her in the back, kicking her in the neck. They said, who is there? She said, it was me and Ruben. Was standing right there. And then Diddy said, bitch, if you jump in, I'ma fuck you up too. And they said, well, what did Rube say? Said Rube didn't say nothing. He just watched Cassie get kicked. They said, well, then she said, Capricorn, excuse me, child. God. This is crazy. This is crazy. All that in a bathrobe and underwear. This is crazy. Then, wait, we not done. They said, Capricorn called D-Rock and said, tell your brother to stop him. D-Rock is Ruben's brother. He said, call your brother and tell him to stop. He's kicking the shit out of Cassie. He won't stop kicking Cassie. Y'all thought I was lying. He was really out there he was like kicking her. He didn't even touch her. One time he was just up there kneeing, high kicking, double kicking, and it was a lot. Then she said she called Uncle Paulie because Ruben's phone wasn't ringing, which means D-Rock was not calling. This was December of 2011. I was here. So they said, she said she called Paulie. He's kicking the out of her. Paulie said, I'll handle it. Then after that, Diddy told her, you know what? This is what he told her Capricorn. As a matter of fact, you get the f out of my house. They said, well, how did you get home? She said, I had to walk all the way home. They said, why did you walk home? She said, he took my car. I didn't have shit. So she walked all the way from wherever the hell to, I'm sure she didn't live in the same neighborhood as Diddy. So she had to walk all the way home. It says, she said she looked back in the middle of the street and Diddy is still kicking and stomping Cassie. And there was nothing she could do. She said she called Cassie's mama and said, he's beating the shit out of your daughter. I can't call the police, but you can. I can't do it, but you can. He's beating her motherfucking ass right now. I gotta go. And hung up. I'm like, yo, this is what I'm telling y'all. This is like a freaking movie. This is a movie. I promise you this is a movie. I promise you this is a movie. And so after that, she said she didn't call the police because, which made sense. She said, they said, well, why didn't you call the police? And why couldn't you call the police? She said, well, the whole mission of the day was to get Kid Cudi not to call the police. So that would have been counterintuitive because I was supposed to get Kid Cudi to not call the police. So, or he was going to hurt us. So I couldn't call the police, which made sense. You know what I'm saying? So she said she saw Cassie later that day. She went to go check on Cassie and see how things were. We really didn't get into that because they did an objection, then they did a sidebar. It was a lot going on. This I'm telling y'all, it's a lot going on. It's a lot with this. We're still not done. Then an arson investigator contacted Capricorn to give a statement. Kid Cudi gave her name. She said she answered the phone and she didn't that. She said, I'm not making a statement, and hung up in the investigator's face. They said, why did you do that? She said, I didn't want to be involved. She said, Diddy, that happened in 2011. From 2011 December to the summer of 2012, Diddy would randomly say, why the fuck did y'all do that? I should kill both you bitches. You know that? I should kill you, bitch. You let her cheat on me. And you cheated on me. I should kill both you bitches. She said she went through that for about 6 months. They said, well, how many times did he say that? About 50 times. And what he actually said is that I should kill you bitches. Or Cassie, I should cut your face. I'll cut your face. And that's something dark. He wanted to cut her face. He said he had cut her face. Whenever somebody gets into cutting your face and doing things like that, that's a real jealousy there. That's a real envy there. That's dark. You wanted to cut her face. And they said, well, what was D-Rock saying? Because he was there. They said D-Rock would double down on whatever she did, he said. Then she said she wasn't allowed to befriend Cassie anymore. They were just only able to be around each other for work. In 2012, Capricorn reached out to president of Bad Boy, Harv Pierre. You guys remember Harv He's going through a weird case right now, too. She told him that Diddy kidnapped her with a gun to kill Kid Cudi and beat Cassie all in the same day. Harv told her, yo, that's crazy. He said, yo, that's crazy. But it's all going to be okay. After that, shortly, Capricorn was put on a 30-day notice. Then she was fired for not properly putting in for her vacation. Apparently, she went on vacation with Rihanna. See, this is the rich stuff. So I'm on vacation with Rihanna in the south of France, but she had got fired because she had slightly spoke out. But they said that she improperly put in her vacation. Okay, this is crazy. This is crazy. Okay. And so we're still going. We're still going. Then she told Love When Chill. I don't know who exactly that is. I think that's somebody that works with Diddy. They were harassing her because Diddy was upset that she didn't so she basically said, hey, they're harassing me because Diddy's still mad at me because I didn't tell him that Cassie was cheating on him. She was fired right after that meeting. They said, so what happened after that? Is she? I lost everything. Now remember, no parents, no mother, no father. I have a son that's autistic. I'm working for Diddy during the early 2000s. Up until now, Diddy is that guy. She lost everything. Car, healthcare, job, apartment. You know why? Because the car was through the company. The phone was through the company. The healthcare, obviously, through the company. The apartment was through the company. Diddy paid for all of her stuff, so he took it. And Diddy told her, bitch, you will never work again. These people ain't your friend. I'll make you kill yourself. I'm going to make you kill yourself. That's what he told her. I'm like, what? And so in 2016, she came back to work. She came back to work with Diddy as the creative director for Cassie Ventura. Everything had to go to Diddy for approval, from her look to her schedule, her food, red carpets, everything. Any and everything had to go through Diddy. Also, the increase of drug use got really, really heavy. Okay? In 2018, she contracted or retained her lawyer because she was trying to get some coins. December 23, she said she was upset about Cassie's civil complaint, and she was pissed about it. Now, every time she would try to get into that, I didn't know if she was mad because she felt like Cassie was lying, or Cassie didn't include her, or I don't know what she was upset for, or it just triggered her. I don't know exactly what it was. But they brought up that in 2024, she contacted Diddy's lawyers last year and tried to get her job back. She said, I just wanted my life back. After the last time she talked to Cassie was 2018. And the last time she talked to Kid Cudi was 2012. We're going to get into it. Now we get into the cross-examination. So, let me just tell you what my thoughts is on this. I feel like Capricorn was the strongest witness. The cross-examination, though, now, they were not ready for her to come up with all of that and all that emotion. So what they were doing, they tried to paint her first as someone that was secretly in love with Diddy. I think at one point she had sent Diddy a message. I think it was in 2021, where she was telling Diddy that before, she always used to have a crush on him. But this was before she worked for him in 2004. So she was just talking about how she missed the old days, how she missed the old times. She had a crush on him. They were trying to use that angle. I don't think that angle could work. Then they kept trying to use the angle because from 2018 up until now, last year, she's been trying to get her job back. Up until recently, she had a meeting with Diddy's current lawyers and the prosecution and her lawyers, and she was trying to see if she can be the chief head of director of Bad Boy while Diddy is going through whatever he's going through right now. And they saying, well, why are you trying to get your job back? And she said, well, I thought maybe he would understand now that if while he's going through all of this stuff, his house is raided, he's under investigation, that, I'm a loyal person. So I think what they were trying to do is paint her as being dirty too, because she's with it and she's still willing to go back to work. But at the same time, I feel like this woman is unable to get a job. She talked about how she tried to go work for Interscope Records when Jimmy Iovine was over there, and when she went for the interview, there was no interview. He told her to stop playing with Diddy when she went to go try to get a job. They said that she went to CAA, the talent agency, and Diddy and them pretty much was like, hey, that door is closed for you. So every time she would try to go get a job, Diddy had her blacklisted from major music companies and entertainment companies. She said when she went to Interscope, they told her, leave Puff alone. It's not going to end well for you. When she went to CAA, Diddy and Andre Harrell tried to talk her out of her legal records. She had been looking for a job up until 2015. She was blacklisted. She said she wasn't able to get work in the entertainment business again. Diddy held all the power as it was pertained to her. She broke down. She was powerless. She's still looking to try to work again. And so that's why I feel like she's still willing to get back to work, because they're like, well, you keep sending these emails and you're still trying to work with Diddy. Why do you want to work at a place that you're not happy? She's like, I miss my life. I didn't want to be in the middle of their toxic bullshit. That had nothing to do with me. I miss my life. And like I said, it was a lifestyle that she had. She's like, this is different for this. She broke down the crime. She said, it's different for me. I don't have my family. I don't have my mom. I don't have my dad. I got an autistic son. I got bills. I got a lifestyle. I don't have help. I miss my life. They were trying to make some. You love working for Diddy. You love working for Puff. She's like, it's not really about him. It's not about that. It's about me. It's my life. He has a lot of power. And he has a lot of connections, and he's blacklisting me. I just want to work. I want to be on my career. I don't have no job. And so then she wrote an email and said to Diddy, why won't you forgive me? This is in 2023 or 2021. I just hope one day you can forgive me. I can tell that she wasn't my real friend talking about Cassie. I knew she wasn't my real friend. But I'm sorry. I didn't mean to do it. I wasn't the only one that did it. Like she did it and you took her back. Basically, she was apologizing for Diddy in the email for, enabling or allowing Cassie to cheat on him with Kid Cudi. Two things I took away from that. First of all, Diddy had all these women. Diddy's a master manipulator, and he had this woman thinking it was her fault. And she was upset because she's like, everybody else knew, and you took Cassie back, and I got kicked out. This is why you stay out of people's relationships, but it's hard to do when people make you in it, because Cassie ended up staying. She got lost, kicked out of a job. Cassie got all this money. You got nothing. But then it came out that in 2015, Capricorn got a settlement for wrongful termination. Okay? And she said she had been reaching out to Diddy recently, like 2021 and stuff. They said, because you kept trying to call Diddy and stuff. She said, well, yeah, because I wanted him to send over a letter of recommendation. And then the prosecution tried to pull up a letter of recommendation that Diddy sent for her. She was like, I wrote this letter of recommendation. This letter of recommendation is from 2012. So then they pulled up a text message from 2021 where she was asking Diddy for a letter of recommendation. Well, that came out because apparently that was part of the settlement agreement. Diddy agreed to pay her and did pay her for wrongful termination. But a part of that is they were not going to disparage one another in the media. They weren't going to drag each other. And he was going to have to write her a letter of recommendation so that she can get a better job or a new job. She never got that letter. So she was reaching out to get that letter of recommendation so she can get a job. But they were kept trying to ask how much money did Diddy pay for? Did Diddy, settle for? They won't let her tell the amount of money. The defense is like, you're not going to put out the money. They do not want her to put out. I'm like, why they don't want us to know how much money she got paid? I feel like she got paid a hefty lump sum. And because I think that's going to make Diddy look like you do all this dark stuff and you just pay people to be quiet. Because now she can't talk about it. She can't say anything because she got this money. So she's sitting here suffering in silence. And this goes to the same thing as Cassie, this person. So you pay a lot of people off so they can't talk. So they don't want us to know the amount of money she got paid. So there's that too. But then it got interesting because they were saying, well, something came up about Cassie. Let me see where it was at. Hold on. Hold on. After lunch, we went furthermore into the negative. Okay, boom. Oh yeah, that's when the defense said this went further more than what I thought. It got really, really negative. Central Park. So then they caught her on the whole thing. They tried to catch her up in a lie and say that because she had called Lauren London when she was at Kid Cudi's house first. They said, didn't you call Lauren London first? She was like, I didn't call Lauren London. But she actually ended up calling Lauren London before she called Cassie. And they were like, well, if Diddy got you over there about to kill Kid Cudi and you call Cassie, you call Lauren London, you don't call the police? And I think she finally was like, sir, let's be clear here. I called Lauren London for me. She was my friend. And I told her, in case something happened to Kid Cudi and I'm here, you know where I'm at. So at that moment, she was basically saying, I called Lauren London for my protection. Cassie, Kid Cudi, I need somebody outside of this matrix, but close enough that knows what's going on to know where I'm at. I'm not worried about everybody else because ain't nobody worried about me. So you're damn right I called Lauren London, but I called her for me. So I said the defense is trying to find holes in her story, but they're just reaching for straws. So like the defense was like really reaching. Oh, and then she said, Then they said, they were just trying to pull stuff. They said, you and Cassie have issues. She said, we did. She said, when did they start? She said, well, when she became the girlfriend, she kind of got really feeling herself. It was more like she thought I got paid to help her. So the defense was trying to paint this picture that she was jealous of Cassie. Basically saying, but she was basically saying, no, Cassie got cocky and got arrogant because she was Puff Daddy's girl. So she would talk spicy and get cute. So we didn't get along like that. And they said, you know, you think she's very talented. You think she's extremely talented, right? And she said, I think she has talent. And she's a very beautiful girl. I'm like, oh, what's the tea? They said, so what's the difference between she has talent and she's extremely talented? So are you saying you don't think she was very talented? She said, no, I don't think she was very talented. And I'm like, oh my God. They said, well, why do you think that Cassie is not very talented? She said, well, when I think of very talented, I think Mariah Carey, Whitney Houston. Cassie is pretty and she's talented, but she's more of a studio artist. And I was like, okay, that's fair. She needs, she needed rehearsals and she needed to work harder, like she really wasn't that talented. Cassie's live performance shows weren't the greatest. Her vocals weren't good, but she works hard. She worked really hard from about 2007 to 2010. Then once she got with her boyfriend in 2009, she did stop working as hard. So that's where she was saying that, Cassie was just like not that great of an artist. So they're trying to, challenge her credibility. It was a lot going on, but I don't think they were not really successful in challenging her credibility. In a nutshell, she said, I wanted my life back. It wasn't about Diddy. I wanted to come back to work in the music industry. I wanted my career back. She said when she was going to start working with Chris Lighty, he died before her contract was supposed to start. Did she start crying again? He died before I was supposed to start working. Then she said, she had been telling Cassie that she needs to get away from Diddy. And Cassie told her, bitch, Jay-Z is already taken. Who else can I date? And there was no further questions after that. Okay. So Cassie was like, I'm not leaving Diddy because Jay-Z is already taken. So who else am I supposed to fucking date? So in a nutshell, I think that Capricorn Clark was the strongest witness today because here's the thing. No matter what the defense tries to pull on her, that lady wanted to work and she was willing to get her hands dirty a little bit too. She just wanted, I don't think it's about being under Diddy or she wants her life back. This is all to it. She wants to creative direct. She wants to be fabulous. She wants to do her parties. She wants to take care of her kids. She wants to live her lavish lifestyle. This is a bump in the road for her. And it's just, she's like, I'm ready to get back to work. Can we just get this? She'll go back to work for Diddy today if she can get this all behind her. That lady needed some money. She's ready to get back to work. She's ready to be back in the entertainment. She's ready for the doors of Hollywood to be unlocked. So it didn't matter if she had to throw Cassie under the bus, Diddy under the bus. She's like, girl, I didn't want to ever be involved in this. I'm ready to get back to work. Hell, if anything, I'll fix it. That's one thing that Diddy, I feel like, has been able to do, get a bunch of women around him that are just turned into fixers, right? And so she's still thinking somewhere that she could fix this for him. Because she was saying, if I was around, all this wouldn't be happening. And I think she has to watch when she says stuff like that, just because it gives the wrong impression. It gives like she's willing to get dirty with it. And I think they were trying to put her as like, girl, you're willing to get dirty. But I do think she's willing to get dirty because she has a son that she needs to take care of. And she has a life that she needs to do. And when you have a big job like that, a career like that, how do you go to Target? Like, where do you go? Where do you go from being a creative director and a chief of director of Bad Boy? Where do you go after that? Where do you go? And then Diddy's got his hands in everywhere. Where do you go as a black person? Where do you go? Where do you go? She's stuck. She's desperate. I feel her. So, today was a lot, but the defense was visibly uncomfortable, visibly disturbed. They did not expect Capricorn to put on a show like she did today. This was a terrible day for Diddy, a huge win for the prosecution, and I'm just not sure if they're going to be able to come back from this. So, I don't know, guys. But we got this is a record today, guys, over 27,000 people in the chat today. Shout out to each and every one of you guys. Make sure you guys like the video, share the video, tag me on Twitter, share. Make sure you guys crop your favorite parts, share them so I can repost you. Subscribe to the channel if you have not done so right now. And follow me on Instagram at Armand Wiggins, okay? It's very important. So, I love y'all all. And if you are ever so kind, please donate to our More Oil Fund. Let me get some of these super chats at the end. Great live, great live. Thank you so much, Faith. Kizzy Park says, thank you for all that you do. Thank you. Olivia Pope says, more oil, more oil. Yes. All right, y'all. So I'm about to wrap it up. Here we got one more. Couldn't have clicked faster. The best coverage of the case on YouTube. Keep doing your thing. Thank you. All right. Well, gotta go, and we'll be back with it tomorrow. Peace out.